Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Hold on, it has been quite a day. Right now, we are in the midst, as you might know, of an impeachment inquiry into the president for attempting to use the full force of American foreign policy to get a foreign country to meddle in our election by manufacturing dirt on his political opponent. That's the high crime, in the Constitution's words, that he is accused of, that basically he's admitted to. Tonight, we have new reporting about the scope of that pressure campaign, because it wasn't just one phone call. The New York Times reporting that two of President Trump's top envoys to Ukraine drafted a statement for the country's new president in August that would have publicly committed Ukraine to pursuing investigations sought by Mr. Trump into his political rivals. One of those two men, the former special envoy to Ukraine, Kurt Volker, testified on Capitol Hill today. He also turned over some incriminating text messages to that committee. We're going to show you those in a moment. But this all comes on a day when the president repeated his crime publicly. He went before the cameras and in full view of all of us, he once again attempted to use the force of American foreign policy to get foreign countries to meddle in our election by manufacturing dirt on his political opponent.
What exactly did you hope Zelensky would do about the Biden after his phone call? Exactly.
Well, I would think that if they were honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Bidens. It's a very simple answer. They should investigate the Bidens.
Okay, there he is. He said it. I mean, we knew it, but now he's saying it again. A reminder that President Zelensky, he's the new president of Ukraine, the country that the president personally withheld nearly $400 million in aid to while he pressed Zelensky to conduct that bogus Biden investigation. Just to be absolutely clear about what's happening here, because there's a lot of forces trying to confuse you, Trump is caught. The people here have all been caught in this corrupt abuse of power. They've tried to throw a bunch of dirt in all our eyes, but it isn't working. So now they're doing the only thing that is left to them, which is to say, yeah, we did it. We're still doing it. So what? And Trump isn't just admitting to what is, to my mind, an unquestionably impeachable offense. He's not just doubling down, he's actually escalating. Today, out of nowhere, he said he also wants China to investigate the Bidens.
And by the way, likewise, China should start an investigation into the Bidens. Because what happened in China is just about as bad as what happened with Ukraine.
Okay. Now, China is in the midst of a U.S. trade war. And in fact, Chinese delegations coming to the U.S. next week for trade talks. It is a trade war which the Chinese would very much like to end because it's hurting their economy, just like it's hurting our economy. And in the context of talking about that trade war that China wants over, the president tells China to investigate the Bidens. He might as well have said, I would like you to do us a favor, though. And by the way, China's not a place with a very strong rule of law. It's an authoritarian state that routinely imprisons and even kills dissidents. A place where the Communist Party abuses investigations all the time to go after American businessmen. That's who he's telling to go after the Bidens. Remember the component parts of this. The president ordered the aid to Ukraine suspended, even though it had passed with bipartisan majorities both houses of Congress. He sent a message to Zelensky by telling Mike Pence not to attend the new president's inauguration, and then he ratcheted up the pressure personally on a phone call to Zelensky. Today we learned that the chief U.S. diplomat in Ukraine understood exactly what was happening, that it was all as bad, as corrupt, and as egregious as it looked. In closed-door testimony in Capitol Hill, the former special envoy to Ukraine, Kurt Volker, reportedly provided text messages, including one from the top U.S. diplomat who wrote, according to ABC News, I think it's crazy to withhold security assistance for help with a political campaign. Now, in response, a Trump political appointee by the name of Gordon Sondland, you'll be hearing more about him, so get familiar. Now, Sondland donated over $1 million to Trump's inaugural committee, and now he's got this position. He responded like a White House spokesperson, insisting the president has been crystal clear, no quid pro quo of any time. He then added, I suggest we stop the back and forth by text. Good one, dude. Now, the New York Times reports that Sondland made those statements, there's no quid pro quo, after he talked to the president. He got them straight from the source. Sondland is one of the people who drafted that statement that would have committed Ukraine publicly on paper, signed document to pursuing the investigations. He also assisted Rudy Giuliani in his ceaseless meddling in Ukraine, according to Giuliani himself. It's just the latest revelation about the scope of the insane rogue foreign policy being run by the president's personal attorney, a rogue foreign policy that has nothing to do with U.S. interests or the national interests or the public interest or what's good for the people of Ukraine or good for the people of the United States. Again, the president endorsed this in his call with a foreign head of state. We now know that Giuliani sent a packet full of lies to the State Department to smear U.S. ambassador that, according to the Washington Post, he even consulted on Ukraine with none other than imprisoned felon and former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort by a lawyer. It amounts to a complete nutjob conspiracy operation to smear political opponents that's being run by the president's lawyer and by the president out of the White House and turned into American foreign policy.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.